Yeah, I let roll my microphone. What is up, Beast MIDI lurkers? So today I want to talk about the MacBook Pro, the Touch Bar version. This could be any version, I guess. If you're editing on Final Cut Pro and have upgraded or downloaded the new software update of High Sierra and have had crashes and basically problems exporting, any of that type of issues since downloading High Sierra, I think I know what you need to do. So I spent a bunch of time trying to figure it out. At first I downloaded High Sierra and I didn't have any issues. I edited a few 2-minute videos, 3-minute videos, and didn't really notice an issue. Once I started editing a longer video, and one thing I did notice though with the shorter ones is that the computer got real hot and real loud. Let's say you can't hear the fan on the new MacBook Pro, but you totally can. It might not be a fan; it might just be like wind noise, but it's still loud. You can hear it from one side of the room to the other when you're exporting like a 4K video. But I noticed it actually got like hot to touch. It wasn't just like, okay, yeah, my computer's hot because it's doing a lot of work. It was literally you didn't really want to touch it, and so I knew it kind of had like it was just. I didn't really think much of it, to be honest, because I'm just used to computers getting hot during the exporting. I just noticed it was a little bit hotter from one to the other. But I also know computers run differently at different times. So at least with my experience, I'm sure if someone does a lot of editing work and stuff like that, you kind of know what I mean, where sometimes, just exporting alone or doing something could take longer than another day. It's probably just from what you were doing previously, if it needs restarted, that type of thing. So once I started editing a longer video, I think it was like 7-minute video, the editing process was fine. Putting in the color grading was fine. And right when I went to export it, it lasted about till maybe like 7%, and the whole computer crashed, just shut off and restarted. And a black screen came up with a bunch of letters and different languages and, that type of thing. And so, I tried it again and it would do the same thing. So I started doing research online, trying to figure out what it was. I couldn't really find anything in pertains of High Sierra, or really, it's hard to find really much of like anything really of Final Cut Pro. It seems like when you do, there's like various answers. So I felt like maybe it was my computer. So I called Apple support, and I was on the phone with them for about 50 minutes. And they had me render everything. They wanted me to let it just render, and before I did an export, if I wanted to, they felt like I was like doing too much work at it. But for me, it didn't seem like that, because I was just, to me, I felt like that was less work. I wasn't rendering then exporting. I was letting it do that, and then it ended up crashing again. So, because a lot of times, I'll actually let it render, because a lot of times I'm not really in a rush. It'll just do its thing, and then I'll watch it. Because a lot of times I'll watch my edits and everything before my color grades, just so I know the editing is down how I want it. Then I go to the look at the end, because I know that's for the computers I use. That's the the hardest work that the computer has. The actual chopping and stuff like that is no big deal. So I actually like to edit and have everything done before color grading. So the reason I was on the phone 15 minutes, it takes a while. Obviously, they wanted to figure out if it was an app or whatever. They ran diagnosis, and they said it wasn't the computer. So I got off the phone with him. He said let it render, which this was a longer video, so I knew it was going to take a while. It was a 4K video, so got off the phone, so it's kind of pretty much a waste of a phone call. But because I told him it had worked, but it's anytime I'm exporting. But anyways, it did crash during that render, but it didn't again on another render. It was pretty much only, or not only, it was 100% on export of the videos that were starting to be longer than like 2 minutes. Same thing with rendering. It was sometimes it would work to render, but if it did render, it still crashed in export. So obviously I was still in the same position of it not working. It was just crashing, complete computer crashes. And then I was reading on like the Apple forum, which I found as another terrible place. Tried to try to figure out information, and and on there they're saying that to download like basically because I've to me if it was an overheating issue, I felt like it was crashing because it was overheating. It would reach a point of that. So download the software that would actually monitor the temperature of your computer. Later found out that's not good for a computer. I don't know if that's just Apple telling me that or if that is a true thing. I just don't even care. I don't have it on my computer now, but it would hit 160 degrees and crash every time, right when I'd go to export. So I was like, well, to see if it is actually a temperature issue, I have a box freezer in my garage. So I actually set my computer in the freezer while it was open, while I was exporting, just so it won't get so insanely hot. And the temperature, I had the app installed at this time, it was staying around like 150-ish range, but then it started getting hotter like once it was getting towards like 80% done or around that range. So I stuck a frozen thing on top of like where the touch bar is, and because it was getting to 160, real close to 160 again, and brought it back down, and it actually exported. That was the only time I could get it to export in High Sierra. All right, I'm back. My microphone, my Zoom H6 recorder actually died on me, and that's a good side note if you are interested in picking up the Zoom H6. Is to know when you're on your last bar of battery, there's 3 bars. If that bar goes away, you have a minute. So there's no leeway when that bar is gone, that's for sure. That's something I would highly recommend, is when there's a bar left and you have something going on, especially if it's something important, change the batteries then. So anyways, to get back where I was at, I think, yeah, I used the freezer and it exported. And then so then I let the computer, I didn't do anything with the computer overnight after this. I just let it, I actually shut it down, waited till the next day to start over. Turn it on, and it would crash again export. So I knew it was overheating. I knew that was the issue. And I really didn't want to deal with another phone call because they ran diagnostics, and they're like, I kind of went through that process. So I set up a appointment at the Apple store, and so I went in, and so they ran tests again, same test that they did over the phone is what he was telling me. They redid, and then he checked on some other stuff. Don't really know. I was checking on the cooling system. Then he's talking about how the fan should be completely quiet. You shouldn't hear anything from the computer, but you don't hear anything from the computer like when you're on the internet. But when you're doing like actual editing, there's noise, and that's why I was kind of telling him, like I showed him, like you can hear it. Like obviously it's way quieter than other computers or certain computers, but the silent thing is that's not accurate for sure. It was weird that he was telling me that as the computer was like making this big like noise. So that's my best example of that. So anyways, he goes through all this stuff, and he already had looked at my computer and all this stuff, and then he talked about maybe just restart, like wiping the whole system out. And I was like, that's fine. I don't keep anything on it. I run things off drives. And he was like, I'm assuming you're not on High Sierra. I'm like, no, I'm on High Sierra. He was like, oh, like, which was, I feel like that if there was an O situation, I feel like either the support or them, that would have been kind of like the first task. These guys at the Apple Store were awesome, by the way, who I worked with. So he didn't know, ahead of time that did have it, but there was obviously an ongoing issue. They had 10 restarts that day and before, so I feel like that might be like phase 1 of like, hey, are you on High Sierra? I see you have the 2017 touch bar. Did you install the software that the computer doesn't stop alerting you, which I still get alerts now to download it. So anyways, we got to that point where they knew I was running it, and they did a hard reset of everything back to Sierra, and it's all working. he said there's something wrong with High Sierra where it's just crashing on, and it's not just Final Cut. I've heard some people don't have problems with it. I've heard people that get their computers hot all the time. So I guess it's really certain computers have certain issues. For me, it was just it couldn't do anything. I mean, it was really a useless computer. I can just edit, and that was it. But I can do that on anything. I mean, that's whatever. So that's what I would if you're having issues with anything with High Sierra, I would get Sierra back onto it. They recommended for me to wait till January. I'll probably actually wait till March because I don't need High Sierra. There's nothing. I don't even know what really is on it. I think there's always some improvements here and there, but for what I'm doing, what I'm using it for, I use my MacBook Pro for Lightroom, sometimes Photoshop, but basically Lightroom and Final Cut Pro. And that's it. So as long as those are working and doing its thing, I don't really care what software is on there. As long as the computer is working and working properly, because obviously the stuff I do with like my website, I do on this as well, but I can do that. I mean, literally on my phone or anywhere else as well. So, I mean, it's so I'll probably wait, for quite a while. To be honest, like I mean, when I downloaded High Sierra, I think I was just I knew I had the latest. I mean, I didn't have the MacBook Pro for long at all. I was just like, all right, well, you can't get a newer version. I mean, it's only, I think I might have had it, I don't know, a month. I don't even remember anymore. Like, I had it, and then, I don't actually think I didn't edit a video, or I was editing those vintage skate file videos, which those are just standard definition, 1 minute long. So I didn't even really use it with 4K for a few weeks after I installed it, and then I did a couple short videos, knowing it was getting hot. So it took me a while to realize that there was an issue. So same thing with maybe with you as well. You might not know there's something going on, but if you do run into computer crashes, and I definitely recommend taking to the Apple Store just so they can look over it as well and see if High Sierra is the issue. So yeah, like I said, I'm gonna give it quite a while until I actually know everyone's kind of using it. I do. I was interested in trying to get the new software for GoPro, the new files for GoPro and all that type of stuff for like the super slow motion. But it's at the same time, I really don't care. I'll come around to it. I feel like there's always like little things I can do, but it always comes down to like just making videos and that I'm making for YouTube. Really all of this is for photography in a weird way. It's all just a byproduct of that. So that's why, like, if I can't edit certain types of iPhone videos or GoPro videos at this point because I don't have High Sierra, that's okay. I actually thought for some reason I couldn't edit any videos with the iPhone, but I just did the last video about David Blaine live. That was all shot with an iPhone 10, and yeah, no problems with that. But yeah, so that's I just wanted to make a video kind of going over my process of dealing with it. I spent probably, I don't even know, 15 hours trying to figure it out because I spent a lot of time myself just researching what the problem is, if I can find anyone else, phone calls, and obviously the meeting at the Apple Store and getting it all figured out. It took a long time. So hopefully by watching this video, you can kind of be like, assess the situation. If you're having crashes, skip researching, skip calling Apple, just set up an Apple appointment and get it in there, because that's the best bet. That's when it's just going to get taken care of, and they can let you know from there. So anyways, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video here about the MacBook Pro. I'm not too sure if people that don't have touch bars have this issue. I basically say if you have High Sierra and you're having computer crashing issues, get it checked out. And if you're not subscribed yet, please subscribe. Thanks again for watching, and I'll talk to you guys soon.